it's going to incorporate FM synthesis. So I went online to see what other people were doing, and I came to the conclusion that there are a lot of misconceptions around FM. In specific, the difference between linear FM and exponential FM. And I hope this video can clear up some of those questions and misconceptions. So what is this FM synthesis thing anyway?
FM stands for frequency modulation, and it's easiest to show with an example. So say you had one oscillator at some audio rate, say A440. And then you had another oscillator that was much slower, say an LFO, running at say 8 to 10 beats. Took the amplitude output of modulating oscillator and you used it to vary the pitch of the main oscillator. Well, the result is vibrato, run countless times on a modulator. For one interesting thing, take the frequency of the modulated instead of verbs, you can bump it up. The audio is very close to fundamental. It's easier to show these large FM effects on our Odyssey. So this is the main oscillator. And this is the modulating oscillator. The modulating oscillator is in the audio range, but it's just lower in frequency than the main oscillator. And what I'll do is I'll bring the main oscillator up again, and then apply the FM effect all the way to the maximum, and then slowly bring it back down to the min. But it seemed a bit out of control. And also, the frequency of the main oscillator seemed to drift upwards when the FM effect was added. And that seemed a bit odd, because the modulating frequency was actually lower up there. So you think maybe the overall pitch should have gone down, or maybe stayed the same. Well, that's one thing that I have to explain. Rather than draw the wave shape, I use this line to represent the range of frequencies. Say from 100 hertz down to the left, all the way to 1,000 hertz, or 1 kilohertz. And the pitch we were playing, the fundamental pitch, was 440 hertz. And rather than think of this in terms of vibrato, where you just go up and down, up and semitones pitch, let's consider going up and down a full octave, because it just gets the numbers easier. And you probably know that when you go up an octave, you double the frequency. So, and then on the way down, if you modulated it one octave lower, 40, then it would go down to half the frequency, or 220. Something interesting to note here, when you modulate up, you change the pitch by 40 hertz. But when you modulate down, you change the pitch only by 220 hertz. So the absolute pitch change in frequency is greater going up than going down. Now, this is known as exponential FM. This is traditional FM on a monosynth for margin. The reason this is called exponential FM is because in analog synth, to go up an octave, you add 1 volt. So to go up multiple octaves in a row, 1 volt, 2 volts, 3 volts, 4 volts, even though the frequency is doubling every time you go up. And if you plotted voltage versus frequency, you would get an exponential curve. So that that begs the question, what would happen if we modulated up and down by the same number of hertz throughout the thunder wave? So say 220 down and only 220 up, or 100 hertz, 100 hertz. Well, that's known as linear FM synthesis. And it's hard to do with any sort of accuracy on an analog sound. So usually you use a digital sound. For that, we'll have to bring out big guns.
So you were probably wondering when a Yamaha DX synth would appear in this video. I don't have a DX7, but I do have a DX11. And I have to apologize in advance. This is the worst user interface for a synthesizer ever, so it's going to be kind of difficult to see.
Yeah, but it does both.
For this
I
example,
don't
I'm
understand.
going to
I need you to
use
explain the concept, and I need you to explain the
Linear
Yamaha
FM synthesis
sense.
is usually described in terms of algorithms.
Oh, awesome.
And this is a pictorial of
Yeah.
algorithm 1 on the DX11.
Those are drawn on the things.
Now, an operator is just a sine wave oscillator, and it's usually pitched with whatever key you're pressing down, sometimes an octave up or down. And the lines in the diagram show how frequency or pitch modulation is connected between the different oscillators for the operators. So here it's showing that sine wave oscillator 4 modulates itself, so it's basically a feedback loop. And the output of sine wave oscillator
here in this video. I don't have a DX7, but I do have a DX11.
This to be smaller. Blah. No, not in that way.
And I have to apologize in advance. This is the worst user interface for a synthesizer ever, so it's going to be kind of difficult to see what I'm doing. For this example, I'm going to be using algorithm 1.
Linear FM synthesis is usually described in terms of algorithms and operators. And this is a pictorial of algorithm 1 on the DX11, and it has 4 operators. Now, an operator is just a sine wave oscillator, and it's usually pitched to whatever key you're pressing down, sometimes an octave up or an octave down. And the lines in the diagram show how the frequency or pitch modulation is connected between the different oscillators or the operators. So here it's showing that sine wave oscillator 4 modulates itself, so it's basically a feedback loop. And the output of sine wave oscillator 4 modulates the pitch of sine wave oscillator 3. The output of 3 modulates 2, and the output of 2 modulates 1. And the output of 1 is what you hear on the audio output of the synthesizer. You always only hear the audio output of the operators at the very bottom of the chain. The rest of them are internal to the synth only, and they're silent for the output. Now I'm going to simplify things a bit here. I'm going to turn off operator or oscillator number 4 and number 3. And this turns it into basically the same example that I did with the Odyssey, where I have a main oscillator that you're listening to, and another one also at the audio rate that's modulating the frequency of that main oscillator. So now we'll go into edit mode and turn off operators 3 and 4 and set up operators 1 and 2 into a simple setup with 2 sine waves, both at the audio rate, one modulating the other. So I'll go into edit mode and turn to operators, and I have to check the waves. Okay, now I have my example set up. This is simply the fundamental, the main oscillator. It's just a sine wave. And with the data slider, I will slowly bring in the modulation of the second operator. So here we go. So what you probably noticed is with this linear FM example compared to the exponential example, things are much more controlled and sound much more musically
and useful and musically harmonic. We don't lose the pitch of the main oscillator. It almost sounds like a low-pass filter effect. So now what I'll do is, rather than manually moving the data slider up and down to bring in the modulation effect, I'll program an envelope, a punchy envelope, and what it'll do is it'll basically automate this modulation effect, so it's punchy at the beginning and then come down to a level kind of at the one quarter level. So let me do that and I'll show you what that sounds like. Okay, so now I've programmed in a little bit of automation for the modulation effect by using an envelope, and this is what it sounds like now. So it'll be a punchy envelope that'll bring in the modulation and then pull it back. So this is starting to sound really good. This is a really respectable bass synthesizer patch, and all this is just two sine waves and an envelope and some modulation. So this is starting to show how powerful the linear FM synthesis method can be. So I hope that answered some questions about FM and showed some of the techniques. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.